servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ready. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
BrainShare Business Mentors proudly presents BrainShare.us, the ultimate business education platform, delivering the proven systems, processes, tools, and knowledge that empower you to build the business of your dreams. With 13 high-powered courses encompassing over 240 lessons accessed online on your schedule. Running a business is the hardest thing you'll ever do. We've helped thousands of business owners gain the leadership, communication, and business skills needed to build the business of their dreams. We can help you. Choose your learning path. Scuba Squad is the premier membership program for today's business leaders with access to all BrainShare material and double our money-back guarantee. BrainShare Basics, the ultimate business framework course, a hard-hitting 13-week program to lay the necessary foundation to build the business of your dreams. Or take individual courses as you need them. Every course has dozens of lessons, with video, practical exercises, precise documentation, and the opportunity for direct feedback from a BrainShare mentor. All programs have our exclusive 30-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked, don't wait. Choose your path and start today.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Doing business in life with a purpose, serving others and achieving success. Yes, that can be done. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to learn how to do business and live life to make an impact in the world. How will you serve today, and what impact will you create with that service? I want you to think about that while you listen to my incredible guest today. And speaking of impact, if you want to make some money the right way, selling your company and learning how to do that, this is my guest has some great ideas how to do that because it's difficult. You're a plumber. You own a plumbing company. You don't know how to sell your company. You know plumbing. You can fix my pipes. You can fix my toilet. But when you want to go to sell your company, you try to do it on your own. Either it doesn't sell or you make a lot less money. And I think we want to sell and make more money, and that's the win. And Janise, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm excited to have because I know because businesses go back and forth and are sold a lot these days, much more than 30 years ago. What's your thought on that? Why would somebody want to sell?
Well, oftentimes as business owners, your entire retirement is in that business. They have spent their 30, 40 years investing in what they're doing and not always taking care of themselves. So many business owners like, my retirement is here, so I have to sell. Some want to sell and choose to sell, but oftentimes they have to sell.
Do you help with the decision? Steve Ramona wants to sell his company to go, you know what, you're not ready to sell yet? Because I might want to go, hey, by the middle of this year, I need the money. I want to get out. I'm done. I'm retired. Do you consult them through that, advise them?
Absolutely. What I like to consider myself the business strategist or coach on the side of the business owner. So I'm sitting with a business owner or having a conversation on a regular basis to really make sure that the decision that they think that they want to make next week or next month is truly the right decision. Because when you have a business, and oftentimes the value of that business is your heart, and it may not be worth what you think it's worth. So it's having the conversation to make sure the business owner has the systems in place and that they truly understand the value of what they're selling. And if the time is really right for that type of sell.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, taking the heart out. That's rare when we talk about taking the heart out of something, because you should have that passion and heart into it. But you're right. I talked to a guy, he said, my company's worth 10 million. You sold it for 1 million.
Exactly. There you go.
And that's
That
exactly what the guy told him. So it was brilliant what you said, because he's like, hey, you're talking about, because you had it for 50 years. You've done all this, this, and this. Value's not there anymore.
That's absolutely right. And that, it's like my whole vision and my purpose is if we can get business owners to start having this conversation before they're exhausted, before they can only take one more month or one more year. What if we start having the conversation 5, 10, 15 years ahead of time and just start building a little roadmap? Because like you said, as a plumber knows plumbing. They don't want to sit and do the business part of it. But if you do like a little trickle or have at least a roadmap, when they get to the point where they're ready to sell or they want to sell, the reality meets the value.
Yeah. And I always say this, you're not going to change your motor on your car. Excuse me. You let your mechanic do it. I don't know why I always pick mechanic, because I'm terrible with cars. Probably because I use a mechanic. But I love that analogy, and I love saying that. That's what you do. Don't try, and I said at the beginning of the show, don't try to do something and devalue and make less money, because you just said it's retirement, it's legacy. The less they
Absolutely.
make.
And a lot of times the term for business owners, retirement may not be your option, but it's your next journey, your travel plan, your grandchildren plan, your volunteer or charitable plan, whatever it is that you want to do outside of what you're doing now. Because, gone are the days where you retire and sit in the back room with a remote in your hand. People are still young and active and going, and they may want to do something different. So it's having that option and knowing that you can do something different.
I like that a lot. Uh, Unique is the family transition. Dad's got let's just use a plumbing company, wants to stay on that path and wants to pass it on to the sons. Do you help with that as well? It's an exit, but in a different way. They're not selling it; they're passing it on.
Oh, it's an exit.
Oh, it is, okay.
Because guess what? If dad wants to transition to the sons, guess what the sons want dad to do?
Get away.
Transition out.
Yeah.
Because they have their own ideas and they have their own vision. And it's unfortunate. I serve on a board for a lender, and I remember seeing a loan that came through that a business had to take because one person was transitioning out and they didn't have a retirement strategy for that person, and they had to start paying out retirement out of the cash flow. So again, that's a part of that transition. And when you have a father son or family dynamic, the younger generation has their idea of how to grow and expand it and take the business to the next level. They need dad to go.
Yeah, and I
They-
guess it's easier for a third party like you to talk to both parties, because it says like, get out of here, we don't want you anymore, you're in the way. And he's like, oh, I started this business 20 years ago. I need.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's like handing off the baton, but I don't want to let go. I'm not going to let go of that baton. I'm just going to hang out a little bit longer, which I mean they could, but it's just really, yes, I help them have those conversations and really looking at how that role is going to change. Because you may want to phase out dad. You may not want to just drop him. He may have all of the relationships.
Yeah.
And so it may be a transition and a conversation that needs to take place again over time.
So mindset's a big part of say psychologist or not, but the mindset sounds like a huge thing of this opportunities.
There's a huge why. Absolutely. Because the reality is that we make decisions emotionally and we justify them logically.
Yeah. What is as I'm thinking, okay, let's say it's selling. The challenge to me is, and when I had to close my business was hard, but if I had to sell it, I'm worried about my customers and my employees. How's that a challenge with this, and how do you work with that?
That's a great question. And I have two perfect examples of friends that have just gone through this. When a business owner is considering selling a business and they've taken the time to put together a really good structure and foundation for that business, let's say they have several interested parties. They get to interview who's buying their business because they have choices. One lady in particular, as a matter of fact, she was the muse for my book. She selected a larger family business as someone or a company to acquire her business because her kids didn't want it.
Mm.
And she was one of those type of business owners who would, if she selected you for the employee of the month and you worked the graveyard shift, she would come in and have lunch with you on the graveyard shift. So when you have someone that's that involved with their employees and they have that type of customer focus, when you have several suitors, you get to select and have conversations with a prospective buyer that has that same vision. I mean, of course, people can buy and do what they want. They own it at that point and they can change. But, if they really say, you know what, one of my girlfriends, they told her, we want to buy your business because you have the secret sauce. And she said, well, what is the secret sauce? They said, your employees are the secret sauce. So those are folks that recognize the value of the employees and the client base.
That's a
And
great tip.
isn't that
Go
awesome?
ahead.
And a business owner can, when you have the right plan, you have the choice.
Yeah. Sounding very stressful to me, which is where, and that's not a bad thing. I think awareness is huge in business.
Yes,
Aware this is a stressful situation, meet you and go ahead and let's take some of that stress off because you're still trying to run a business.
absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
big, how much stress do you see?
I don't see a lot because the people that I'm talking to, I'm trying to talk to them far enough ahead of time so we can address it. And then I work with other advisors. So my whole vision and purpose for business owners is to create a dream team. So, I help them bring in the people that help reduce the stress. If it requires accounting, if it requires, your financial officer, your attorneys, your CPAs, your bankers, it's creating a conversation so that it is not stressful. I haven't worked with anyone that was fire sale last minute. That hasn't been my experience. And I don't want it to be my experience. Does it exist? Yes. I have colleagues that have had those experiences. But my vision and my goal is to get out in front of all of it and make this conversation palatable so that a business owner does not have to go through that.
Yeah.
It's an option. You don't have to
Yeah.
go through it.
Right. Yeah. You could just say, no, I'm not selling. And we'll just keep moving on like we are. And
And that has
you
happened.
shake hands, walk away and say, hey, I'm ready when you're ready to move. So
That's right. And
you,
when
you
you have,
call your, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting so excited. Sorry. I'm learning so much. That's such a great tip. You call yourself a business strategist, but you also say insurance strategist. I knew I was
yes.
going to have trouble saying that. Let's talk more about that.
Oh, yes. I have two businesses. My old business, my first business is Entrepreneurs Insurance Services. I've had that business for 24 years. I started when I was 10, let's be clear. I've had it for 24 years. And so they really marry and my business strategies, my coaching, they really marry very well. I learned about exit planning and succession planning from the insurance and financial services side. I used to be a retirement planner, and we had a family friend who had a very successful business, and he crashed his plane. That was the beginning of my introduction of business options. The insurance side of it, there's this contract that business partners can have. It's called a shareholders agreement, or business owners, which is a buy-sell agreement. It is like a business prenup. It's oftentimes, there's several ways of funding a business and the future of a business, but one way is through utilizing life insurance in a business setting. So that's where my insurance comes in, and I really look at the strategy holistically, and that's why I say insurance strategist, because like if it's something I can't do, I have colleagues across this country, and I am a firm believer of bringing in partners and colleagues that know more than me, that know something different. And I always say, you know what? I'm like the cardiologist. I deal with the affairs of the heart. If you need an orthopedic surgeon, I'm going to refer you one. So within the financial services space, I work with certified financial planners. I work with certified exit planners. I work with people, financial analysts. I work with people that really want to be in the weeds. I really want to be out front and sitting right next to the business owner and helping them translate the conversation.
True servant's heart, making it a community-based service. We can't know everything. And my dad used to say always, I say a lot on my show, don't recreate the wheel.
Absolutely. And don't be a know-it-all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's a quote I heard, if you know everything, you live a lonely life.
That's a great quote.
And I'm sorry, I'm not quoting whoever it was Einstein or somebody like that. Yeah, I thought it was great because I used to think I had to know everything. It's like, God, I'm much more alive going, Janise, I don't know this. Well, here, let me show you some because I'm doing for people. People are doing for me.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your book. You're an author.
Yes, I am. I'm so excited.
I love it.
That was a journey, but let's talk about her.
Yeah, I hear it's a journey, so I'm with you.
It is a journey. What is it? It was almost like a 9-year journey for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
The book is Leaving in Style: Business Succession on Your Terms.
And like I said earlier, I thought it's a great, great message because I'm thinking living in style, leaving in style. And it's just fantastic because style is the key word there because you can leave clunky, leave it a mess. Because I've known a number of people have sold businesses and the next owner put it in the ground a year later.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
sad.
You know, the book originally started as an instructional book, and it was just too complex and it was too complicated. And it's like, that is not what I want. I want to meet business owners where they are. I want to give them something that's easy to comprehend. So I scrapped it. My business coach and my book coach and I scrapped it, and I rewrote it as a story. I have a fictionalized character that is really dealing with, all of the characters are dealing with things that I've dealt with in my experience. And so we created a story to make it an easy read and so that it flows. And so like I said, I want business owners to leave their businesses as gracefully as they've run them. So my main character's name is Grace.
Beautiful.
Surprise.
Yeah, no. And I love your servant heart of, I want to make this transaction easy, simple as much as it can, but I want it to be profitable for the new owner. So,
Absolutely.
right. So it sounds like a lot of communication with the potential buyer as well.
Yes, it's a conversation. It's truly a conversation, and it's about winning and bringing the right people. When I think of a servant's heart, it just warms my heart that this is your entire focus. But it's truly about introducing the client to people who are like-minded and that can help them. And not only does it help the business owner, it does help in a buyer-seller relationship. Now, the conversations that I've had have not been so much with those two coming together, but I have colleagues for that. And I have wonderful people that help in building out that the numbers and making sure that they're all in alignment and that they're all on the same page and that there's no surprises.
It is a complex situation. It's not, especially a multi-million-dollar business. Yeah, if you're selling your lemonade stand, I think Janise could do that pretty quickly for you.
That's exactly right.
And she'll make you some money
right.
too, which I love.
That's exactly right. And so I know I know how to stay in my lane and bring in and make introductions because that's what brings peace of mind.
Yeah. People ask me, hey, they asked me to go through my network. Hey, this happened 3 months ago. Hey, I want to sell my business. Anybody would like to buy my business? I don't. But that's where you really come in too is, okay, the first decision, I want to sell my business, doesn't get sold unless you find somebody else on the other side. You help with that? You have a group or community you can go out and find people?
Well, I don't find them, but I know some amazing business brokers who do.
And that's where I love the servant's heart you have because you've built relationships with, let's just use the brokers.
Yes.
They're legit. They're going to bring good people or say, you know what, we have nobody right now. And then you go, hey, Steve, you got to wait 6 months. There's not a buyer there because there has to be a buyer.
Absolutely. And here's the reality. Most businesses will not sell. The statistics that I use and the ones that I have on my website say 1 in 3 businesses will sell because the majority of the businesses are still held by baby boomers and Gen X. And so if 1 in 3 businesses are going to sell, you want to make sure you're that one. Now, I had a conversation with a business broker colleague of mine, excuse me, a couple of weeks ago. He said that he's seeing 17% of businesses sell. I'm like, oh my goodness, those numbers are even lower. It's because people are not prepared. They want to sell, but they don't have a business structure and foundation in place that makes it attractive to a buyer.
Yeah. It's like marketing. If you don't have a good marketing team, you go, my marketing is not working. I'm not getting any sales. Well, let's go back to the marketing. Yeah,
exactly. Don't look at the marketing department.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's easy. or
Yeah.
change it. So you talked in the green room about Santa Barbara. Now you live in Alaska. Why would you want to go to Santa? I'm teasing. She doesn't live in Alaska. So why vacation? And I love Santa Barbara, so I'd be following right with you. But why Santa Barbara?
Well, Santa Barbara is where I was born.
Oh, beautiful.
And my family is in Santa Barbara. And it's funny because it's one of those things where when I would mention to people, oh, I was born in Santa Barbara. Oh, they would go, oh, it's so romantic. And I was like, oh my goodness, my grandmother lives there. That's not very romantic. I've come to appreciate it, but I spent most of my summers as a child in Santa Barbara. And
Yeah.
I can't say I appreciated it the way I do today.
No, I mean, I live in San Jose Bay Area, and people laugh because I've never been to Alcatraz. Been here 62 years. Yeah, I
Oh,
get the same look. It's like, I just never, because I'm here all the time, like you were in Santa Barbara. It's a great comment. And what I love, why I wanted to ask that question is you're a busy woman. You're very productive. Don't like to use busy, but you
I
still
like
take
it.
time to vacation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, yes, that's absolutely true. That's that is actually very true. I've learned to do that. I now when I go to Santa Barbara, I don't consider that a vacation.
Yeah.
That's visiting family. But it is beautiful, and I could see it from the eyes of like my husband or other people that go with us, or I could appreciate it from a tourist standpoint. I think sometimes. Well, yes, I do take the time to vacation. I was in Portugal last year, so yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. The other personal question that we talked about is, and you said you've never been asked this, and I'm curious, why did you marry your husband?
Oh my goodness, that's a really, no one has ever asked that. It's like, you think of, I feel like I'm an open book, and there's so much that people know. Why did I marry my husband? Because I thought he was a good friend. And I don't know if he's going to hear this podcast, but we dated for 7 years, and I thought he was a little slow. It's like you're 7 years, and you can't figure out if this is going to work. But when he finally proposed, which was actually 28 years ago tomorrow, Valentine's Day, it was Valentine's Day.
Wow.
Yes, and I was just surprised, and I said yes because I liked him as a person. We were friends. We were actually, I mean, we dated, but I actually liked the person. Um, and I tease him because I'm like, you're an engineer and you couldn't figure this out in 7 years. Okay, but we've been together 35 years.
Congratulations.
Thank
Happy anniversary. See, in a live, or not live, it's recorded, but on a podcast, you never know where it's going to turn.
Exactly.
Quite interesting. I took 7 years to marry my wife as well. So when you said that, it really hit home. Yep, you're absolutely right. So I got engaged on my birthday, and she was shocked. Not why I
See?
waited 7 years, but friends that are listening are like, "We told you, Steve." So
There you go. There you go. See?
just got it under the wavelength. Just barely got it under. Well, I want to ask one last question. We'll get to the end of the line here. What makes you smile?
Oh my goodness. God. You know,
Amen.
it's one of those things where when I was in high school, there's one girl in particular who used to say, well, several girls, they would go, you smile too much. I smile and I don't even realize I'm smiling. It's just joy. And that doesn't mean everything's easy. It doesn't mean that I'm always happy. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect, but there's just a core of joy. And I'll pass a mirror and I'm smiling. I'm sure I smiled through this entire conversation. It's like I'm always that person. And so I'm great when somebody's speaking and I sit on the front row because they always go, I love that you smiled through the entire. I didn't know I was smiling,
Yeah.
but I chalk it up to joy, just having a joyful heart and gratitude.
Servants' hearts have grace and joy. And that's why I asked the question, because that's the true song. And if you want to be a servant's heart, a servant leader, grace and joy need to be part of that.
I love that.
I got a notebook full of notes here. I'm sure people want to know questions answered. How can they reach out to you to get those questions answered?
Oh my goodness, please do. I love answering questions.
Mhm.
There's several ways. There's my website, which is leavinginstyle.com. You can reach me or reach out to me at success@leavinginstyle.com. Because remember, there's no succession without success. So
I love it.
success@leavinginstyle.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. at Janise Graham. I'm the only one on there that's a Janise Graham. Janise with an S.
Reach out to her. I love it. And I'll have it in the show notes too. And you mentioned Succession. That's a heck of a TV show. Kind of an entertainment of Succession.
Never watched it.
Oh, it's you find a lot of critique because of what you do, but it's interesting. Audience, as I always say, please comment on YouTube and my podcast with this show. Janise has said some number of things here that you might want to go back and listen to. Here's why I love a podcast. It's got a forward and a reverse. Go back and forth. Stop at 20 minutes, at 19 minutes or 15 minutes, and listen to it over again. I don't really care if you, and I'd love for you to listen to the whole podcast, but if she's giving you some education, motivation, or inspiration, you need to hear it again, do that on the podcast. I think this is the power of it. The other thing is, don't forget about my TV show, Together We Serve, which is a connection to this podcast on Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. I've got some podcast swag, Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts. There'll be a link in the chat if you want to spread the word of doing business with a servant's heart. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you for listening. And I look forward to hearing you or seeing you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. See you all.